Reanne, great to see you. How are you doing?
Yeah, not too bad. Weather's a bit rubbish now. Where's the summer gone? But no, it's all good.
How has your summer been so far? The women's tour finished slightly later than the World Snooker Tour, so perhaps not had as much as a break as some others, but you were telling me you've been away somewhere.
Yeah, I was gutted when they added that event on. I was like, oh, I got another couple of weeks off, but no, they added the event and it got me back on tour, so I can't moan. But yeah, I love a holiday, and I need another one now. I've lost my tan.
So you feel refreshed and relaxed, even though you perhaps want another holiday. You feel ready to go again for the new season that's just started.
Yeah, I definitely needed the time off. As I say, I got a few problems. It's a little bit better, but still waiting for results and scans and things like that. So it's still in the back of my mind, but it's a lot better than what it was, and hopefully it's going to get better as the season goes on.
How important is that off time, the period we've just had, and perhaps you're still having before the season really gathers pace, to just switch off and, as you say, perhaps sort things out off the table, but just relax and really switch off from snooker?
Yeah, when you do something all day, every day, and competitions, travelling here, there and everywhere, and not playing great, not feeling confident is the main one, and you just need a break sometimes, and it can do the world of good. And hopefully it's going to do me the world of good now and start afresh and hopefully play a little bit better this year.
And I suppose as fans, we look at sports people and snooker players almost robots at times. They turn up the arena, we expect them to play well and just and perform and play the sport. But as you said, sometimes things are going on off the table that you need to sort. So nice to have, I suppose, that time just to pay complete attention to those things. Yeah,
no matter if you're at the number 1 or number 128, you're in the same sport at obviously different levels, but you're still going through the same emotions at some point. You got Judd Trump couldn't lose a match, and then he was struggling to win a match, and his confidence had gone, and that's Judd Trump, one of the legends of the game, do you know what I mean? So it can affect anyone, no matter how good you are and how often you've won events and things like that. So yeah, you've got to accept it. I think sometimes it's just hard to accept it, but if you can move on, forget about it, the better. And that's what I'm going to try and do. Just try and look forward rather than looking back.
Well, we're actually going to look back a little bit on last season.
On cue.
on some of the highlights, I suppose the bigger picture highlights as well. Let's start with the World Mixed Doubles.
Yeah.
It was a fantastic event. It felt like a really fresh event, a vibrant event. Would you go along with that? What was it like to play in and be a part of?
I actually thought it was fantastic, especially for the top players to get involved and support it as well, which is obviously what you need to promote the game. And obviously the 4 women involved, and we don't get to play on that stage very often. Okay, it's a bit daunting, but it's also exciting at the same time. You want to perform, but you also want to enjoy it, and the money involved, we was like, oh my, the pound signs, what's going on? Twitch your black off a spot for a few grand. But yeah, we're not used to it, but I'll say it was a fantastic event. I couldn't thank ITV enough for putting it on. It was brilliant, and we got well looked after, and hopefully it's obviously on the calendar, and hopefully it'll stay on the calendar.
How did you feel that the other ladies handled the spotlight? Because I suppose you're sort of used to having the spotlight on you and people talking about you, but
people
perhaps
say that, but I don't agree. No, I know what you mean.
Yeah, I suppose you've sort of had it for longer,
yeah.
Maybe, but it's perhaps newer to the other ladies. How do you feel they handled it?
Yeah, I think Mink and Anya have sort of had little bits as well, here, there and everywhere, and Mink being a little bit younger is probably more exciting, just wants to play and get out there. I'm a little bit older and thinking, how many more years have I got this chance for? And Anya's just been quite solid last season, actually. She probably deserved to stay on with the wins she got out of all the women. But unfortunately, that's snooker for you. And obviously Rebecca, new on tour, and she just thought, I think she thought pound signs, and fair play to her. They nearly won it, didn't they? She was like playing a little bit negative. She can play a lot better than a lot more attacking than that, but she probably played the right game to try and win the tactics and win the event.
And looking back at the highlights, as we have done over the course of the summer, in our sort of jobs as making video compilations, and it was actually really nice to see that every player as well had their highlights. They had their moment where the focus was on them and they stood up and they delivered.
Yeah, say I made like a 60-yard break or something. Mink cleared with a 60-yard, and I think Anya cleared a really tight frame to beat us, I think, or something like that, which didn't help us. But no, it's and obviously some great shots and tactical play from Rebecca. I think we all showcase something, and obviously the more you get involved in those events, more you're in that situation, that environment, hopefully it comes that little bit easier and a few less nerves, and hopefully enjoy it a bit more.
Now, last year's event was in Milton Keynes. This season, we're heading to Manchester. Now, that sounds brilliant in itself. It feels like it really fits the event as well. As I said before, fun, vibrant, in a city. It feels like that is going to be even bigger and better this season.
Yeah, I think to try and get any sort of snooker tournament in the main cities, I think is a brilliant idea. It's only going to grow the game. You're going to get more spectators. And obviously the mixed doubles, I think it needed to be a little bit more fun. I sort of went in thinking we'll be a bit more relaxed and things like that, but then he sort of got a little bit serious and maybe not shootout levels, but no, I just think, especially for the women to try and enjoy it as well, and if the crowd got involved a little bit and things like that, maybe relax us a little bit more. But yeah, all in all, you can't knock the event. I thought it was brilliant.
And I suppose what would help perhaps people maybe feeling a bit more relaxed in the crowd and getting involved a bit more is seeing more kids there. And of course this season kids will be going free to the event. They don't have to pay, which is fantastic.
Oh, yeah. I think they should do that every event, no matter what sort of event is going on. If local schools or, I don't know, activity groups or anything like that, they should just give them a day pass and you know, and they get to meet a couple of the players. You need to get them involved, and you need to see it to believe it, don't you, or see it to try and get involved, and I think that's the way forward.
And as you touched on as well with ITV, the event being on a prime time slot as it was last season, that only adds to the eyes that are going to be on these players. And of course it's just so important. We hear it a lot, but the importance doesn't diminish at all. It's really, really important for, as you said, for young girls to be watching and seeing people like yourself, Anya, Mink, Rebecca as well, on telly and playing snooker, so they can believe they can as well.
Yeah, definitely, and hopefully in the future you'll see women against women and their own tournaments playing on TV, and that's my dream. Might not be anyone else's, but that's my dream, to see like the Women's World Championships on TV at some point. Maybe not all the event, but like from the semis onwards or something, just to showcase it. And I think that will encourage even more young girls or even women that never thought they would be able to play against another woman on TV to pick up a cue and start practicing and start hitting some balls, and hopefully that's the future.
And in terms of youngsters, but sticking to players, a couple that you spoke about recently in a piece on our website, by Pat and by you, Lou, some of the quotes that stood out to me, you said that they go out and they play with no fear, they have sort of no scars, and it sort of reminded them of yourself, really. Just expand on that and perhaps what you meant by that.
Yeah, obviously when you first start, you've got no expectations, you don't know what to expect, there's no pressure on your shoulders, people don't know if you can play or not and things like that. So when I come on tour like years ago, playing on the amateur scene against all the guys and everything, I sort of knew some of them because I've always been in that sort of environment. But then you're playing them and they're like, oh yeah, I was competing, holding my own, getting to latter stages of events, and then as you go on, I'd never really put myself as a trailblazer for women or anything like that. I just played snooker, just thought, oh, I'll just go over there, hit a few balls, try and win a frame, win the match, things like that. So when people start putting that pressure on you, saying, oh, people are looking up just you at the time, and it's all relying on you, and then you start thinking, oh, I can't let them down, and that sort of grows on you with time. And as you get older, you got more fear and things like that. So looking at those playing, I mean, I watched Bay in Q School, and she's potted a really good pink and then got a real tough black to win the match, and she just didn't even look at it, and she done the right thing, didn't overthink it, just thought, right, I know what I've got to do, trust my technique, got down, saw the angle, potted it, and I thought that's the way to be. Whereas probably in a few years' time, after a few hard losses and a few things like that, she'd be like, oh, I really need to proper get this perfect, but you don't have to do that. And I thought it was fantastic, breath of fresh air, both of them.
Yeah, they both look like they're really enjoying themselves at the minute.
Yeah. As I say, they're on the crest, aren't they? They're just coming into it. They don't know what to expect. It's all new. It's all exciting, and I think they're fantastic for the game.
You touched on that weight of expectation on yourself over the course of many years, and perhaps being the trailblazer. Where does that sit with you now? Because obviously, I suppose that is still there, and of course, but you've got lots of young players coming through as well, and more female players coming to the attention of the wider public. But where does that sort of responsibility still sit with you now? Is it something you're comfortable with, you've grown into?
It's always going to be there, so it's one of those things you have to deal with. I'm trying not to think about it as much, but I still want to push it forward when I'm not playing, if you know what I mean. Yeah, even like doing the punditry and things like that, just showing that women can be involved. I just think about it day in, day out, to be honest. And so when you can separate it and just concentrate and play snooker, it's obviously the snooker side is going to become that tiny bit easier. But yeah, it's just hard because you just want it so much. I know I struggled, and a few others have in the past, of just keep hitting brick walls, we're not getting nowhere. So to finally see that little tunnel with a little bit of light at the end, and now I want to put my foot down on the pedal and go right to the end and make snooker available for all women. Yeah,
well, you've done a fantastic job of that over the years, and obviously still managing to do so. In terms of the women's tour, then the first tournament of the season is in the US, out in Seattle. And just tell us a bit about what snooker's like out there, because it's not something on the World Snooker Tour we really experience. But tell us what snooker is like over in the States.
Oh, I didn't go to that event, but I got a couple of friends that went over. Says like they didn't really have the idea of snooker, that they like watching it, but playing is totally different game. So they didn't know all the rules and things like that. But then it sort of made them want to play it. So having a tournament out there has sort of got more people involved. And as you say, America's hard to break because they don't know snooker at all, really. It's more like pool, isn't it? 9-ball pool and things like that. But yeah, they said they was well supported. They've got real good interest out there. Obviously, it's going to start from the bottom. It's got to work its way up. But within time, if it does go to America, I think that'd be huge.
And I suppose it's a bit of a blank canvas at the minute, isn't it, as well? So the fact that the women's tour are heading out there first as well, it's just, again, just fantastic for the women's game, and then fans over in America can really expose themselves to that. Are you heading out to Seattle this time?
At the minute, I've had no plans to. It's just a lot of travelling, a lot of money, and it's sort of jet lag, and I'm getting old now, I told you this, right? But
you want that second holiday, actually.
Yeah, I'd rather the second holiday. No, but it's just hard with a lot of travelling as you get older as well, but I support it. I think getting more exhibitions out there maybe is a good thing, just showcasing it, and obviously in a few years' time you never know what's going to happen, because when America get involved they like to do things bigger and better, don't they? So you might be competing with China in 10, 15 years' time.
No, they certainly do. Targets and ambitions then for yourself this season, have you got any specific goals in mind?
As I say, I'm not going to look back on the last 2 years because it wasn't great. Things haven't gone 100% so far, but it's getting better, and that's on the bright side for me. I just want to try and enjoy it. I know I keep saying this, but it's been so hard too. But yeah, obviously people say, oh, you want to win a few matches, but I'm used to winning tournaments, not matches. So it's hard to look past, because basically you're not going to win the event. So it's hard to look past that motivation that I'm used to doing. So it's something in my own head that I've got to figure out. But yeah, just want to go out there, enjoy it, and then hopefully play a little bit better, and you never know.
I suppose that's it, isn't it? Taking enjoyment from the fact that you will be enjoying it a little bit more, if that makes sense. That's, I suppose, the motivation. Yeah,
if you enjoy it, you don't mind the practice, you don't mind losing the odd close game here and there, because I feel a bit confident. I'm enjoying it. I feel like it's going to click at some point. It's a different feeling than being really down and no confidence. And so I just want to be a little bit healthier. Hopefully things get a little bit better. But yeah, it's just one of those. And I'm getting old now. I can't think too much into these things. So I'm just taking it day by day, game by game, and see what happens.
You'd stop saying you're getting old as well.
The wrinkles are starting in.
Lastly, I want to finish on another point. Despite all the positives we've just spoke about, really, with the women's tour and the women's game, Rebecca Kenner announced recently on social media she's taking a break from social media because of some of the comments she's received. Yeah. I suppose just want to get your thoughts on that, whether you've reached out to her at all or spoken to her.
Yeah, we talk about it. We text saying, I was like, you can't even talk to them. You can't. I tried it. It doesn't work. You've got to be really thick-skinned, and you've got to sort of put a blank face on and all these things, and just believe in what you think's right, because it's so difficult. I mean, the male players probably get it a lot, but I think we get it a hell of a lot more. And that's because we put up against the best in the world, and no matter how well we play, I mean, I played really well one match, just about lost, and still got stick and abuse, and you're never going to win, so it's tough. We do get a hell of a lot. It's not nice at all. And I'm not blaming her for taking a break, actually. and it's tough because you need social media to push everything, and that's where everyone goes now. But a break here and there is probably a good thing.
I'm going to say, because obviously we encourage and people are encouraged to build their identity, I suppose, their brands on social media, aren't they? To really build their profile.
It's a catch-22, is it? It's like
but then you're coming up against say Rebecca's story, and it's quite difficult, I suppose, if you were talking to some young girls who are getting involved in snooker, and you've been actually saying to them, build your profile and try and make more of a presence on social media, but then you hear obviously Rebecca's story.
Yeah, this is why I think it's probably a good thing for like Bay and BiPAT, whereas maybe their language barrier is a good thing in some ways, because they probably won't read all that or take any notice of it, whereas obviously us being in the main area, England, for the snooker, you're going to get it. But it's so tough. It is depressing, but it's also a good thing as well, and you've got to try and take the positives out of everything you do, otherwise it will get you down.
So you're quite a presence on social media, you haven't thought about stopping at all? Or?
Yeah, I have thought about it, tried to step away, but something always reels you back in, and then you're like, right, I was going to say this one point, and then I leave it, then it turns into like months of of arguments and abuse and everything. But yeah, but sometimes you've got to put your foot down and stick with your guns and say, right, this is it. You have no idea because you're actually not involved in it, but you still got an opinion. Until you're in that situation, you don't really know. But yeah, it's a funny old world, social media. But as you say, we do need it, but it is a dark place sometimes.
And I suppose though there are also a lot of people who'll be glad to hear that, and that you are sticking around on social media. There'll be lots of your fans as well who'll be really pleased about that. So Reanne, thanks for chatting today. Really appreciate it, and all the best for this season.
Right, thank you.